To those listening to us on any of our platforms, we are gearing up and getting ready to go live here in another minute or two. We are glad that you have joined us and look forward to having a great live learning clinic with everybody tonight. Ashley, welcome. Good to see you online with us tonight. My name is Matthew P. Hoffman, and I am a marriage coach, relationship coach, national speaker, and corporate trainer. My passion is working with people in their relationships, in marriages, men, women, couples. And tonight we are going to have a lot of fun getting into one of the biggest issues that really gets in the way of people's relationship nirvana, them experiencing the life, the relationship that they'd like to have, and what they would like to do. And so we are glad to have you with us tonight. And we're going to have some fun getting in there. If you're watching live, you can ask questions as they pop up, and I will make sure that we respond to those. If you're listening to this in a recorded version, you can certainly email us any questions or needs or things you may have at info@kickasscouplesnation.com. We will throw that email in the chat for you. If you have any questions, we also want to let you know if you signed up to join us in this clinic tonight and were not able to come live, you will be able to see the recorded version, which we will share and send out to anybody that registered for the clinic tonight. So we're glad that you joined us, and we are looking forward to having some fun and really getting into it, because conflict, fighting, stress, disagreements, all these things really get in the way of having a fantastic relationship. And it's unfortunate that so many of us don't know what to do to change that trajectory. And we're going to talk about a lot of key steps of things that you can do tonight to make sure that happens. So I'm going to be a respecter of your time. You're going to see me, my picture go small. That's okay. You'll see another picture of me pop up on the screen. And we're going to share with you a little presentation tonight. If you didn't get a workbook, we do have a small worksheet that goes along with this clinic. We'll post that link in our comments for you right now so you can go and download it, take notes along the way. The reason we do that is because I don't want you to have to listen and write down to everything I say in order not to miss it. So we have this workbook so you can write down some of the answers. We'll provide you with a key later in case you miss them, but we want to make sure that you get the key information. And so you can refer to this, share it with your partner, with your spouse, and make sure that you get everything that you'd like to get out of this clinic tonight. We just popped that. Ashley just threw that in our comments for you. So make sure you check that out, and we're going to get into it. And the whole idea is every healthy relationship has conflict. So if you think that there's relationships out there that are perfect, that where there's not arguments, there's not fighting, there's not conflict, there's not stress, that is just not the case. The truth is every great relationship has conflict. The real question you have to ask yourself is, what are you doing when it pops up so it doesn't destroy the relationship? And we're going to get into that tonight and are glad that you joined us. You are in the right place if you're married, in a committed romantic relationship, and you're feeling distant or disconnected from your spouse and dissatisfied with your love life. If you'd like to be recognized for your value and contribution to the relationship, if you are tired of the arguments, fighting, and conflict that seem to rise out of nowhere and leave both you or your partner angry, stressed, and frustrated, then this clinic is for you. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you my keys to minimize fighting and arguing and gain true understanding of your partner. I'm going to share with you why you and your partner are on different pages and how you can become unified and pulling together in the same direction. And I'm going to share how I cranked up the volume on passion, connection, and a great sex life that is waiting for you to tap into. Commenting to someone in our Facebook group right now. In the next 45 minutes, you're going to stop wondering what you need to do to feel understood, valued, and truly appreciated by your partner and start making it happen. I'll show you why you need to stop with the one-liners, the quick fix remedies that are recommended by so many social media gurus and relationship strategists, and do what feels authentic and intuitive to you. And I'm going to show you how it's actually easy to start getting small wins and tangible progress in just a few minutes of focused attention each and every day. Here's my promise to you. I'm going to show you the exact steps that I took to drastically reduce the conflict and arguing and minimize the stress in my own relationship. Here's the deal. Living and owning the kick-ass title in your relationship is not elusive. It's not impossible. It's not something that you can't achieve. Most men in relationships, even those who feel their relationship is okay or going well, don't live up to or even attain the status on a regular basis. Your results start with a strong vision and belief in what's possible, followed by consistent, serious action and the personalized support of a mentor. I'm not here to pitch a sale, but I want to make sure that you're paying close attention and take notes. Studies have shown that when you write things down and take notes, the amount of retention and learning goes up by more than double. So turn off your distractions, get rid of the notifications, silence your phone if you're not watching this on your phone, and give this 100% of your focused attention. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar to you. No matter what you say or do or how much money you make, you never seem to fully satisfy your partner. You're confused by what's working and what isn't in the world of relationship psychology, and you feel bad because you haven't been able to make cookie-cutter, repeatable actions and processes work for you in the past. You're sick and tired of not having quality time with your partner and family that recharges you, is stress-free, and allowing you to thrive in the fulfilling relationship you desire. You struggle with staying consistent in your relationship growth efforts because you just don't know what to do. You're confused and overwhelmed by the constant contradictory information coming at you online and from friends who know best. You feel like after so many years of hard work, so much time, effort, and money invested, you should be way more fulfilled and satisfied and happy in your number one relationship. Have you ever thought, like if you could just read a book maybe and learn everything you got to know, give some expensive gifts, or take your spouse on a crazy vacation to smooth things over? Try doing everything your partner says so they feel fully in control, or be more disciplined in what you think, say, and do. The truth is, no one has shown you the exact 3 steps in the right order that you can actually do. And that's what I'm going to give you tonight. Once you execute what I'm about to teach you, you're going to look back at the times you fought like badgers and smile because you've been able to sail smoothly together day after day with more joy, peace, and happiness. You'll know exactly what you need to do to create loving engagement, more passion, and much greater mutually fulfilling sexual connections. You'll never wonder where your partner's coming from, what they're thinking and feeling, or if you'll be able to meet their needs and yours. You will truly be excited about going home and opening that door because you know that the efforts that you have and you continue to produce will give you the results that make sure your best friend, partner, and adoring lover are there for you the way you want them to be. Your time together with your family and friends will be charged with positive overflow that you've created with your partner. Your business performance will skyrocket because when you're fulfilled, content, and supported at home, you can't help but soar higher in your business achievements. This is what you need to know. The key thing that you've got to know is that there are 3 steps you need to be able to consistently walk through in order to minimize conflict, fighting, and stress in your marriage. Let me introduce myself. My name is Matthew P. Hoffman, as you got because you signed up or you stumbled across one of our channels and are watching this with us tonight. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've had great business success in the real estate development business. I'm a coach, author, podcast co-host with my wife in the Kick-Ass Couples podcast, and a national speaker. I'm a kick-ass husband, not because I say I am, but because my wife gave me that title. We are working on our 30th year of marriage. We passed 29 and we're into number 30 right now, and we have 3 fantastic kids. I'm a chef. I love to do things outside, and I like to challenge myself physically, mentally, and spiritually in everything I do. But it always wasn't like this. After about 20 years of marriage, my wife and I were fighting and arguing a lot. We were saying things that were tearing each other down instead of building each other up. And anytime we had an opportunity to twist that knife a little bit, we would take advantage of it. Neither of us were completely happy. We were definitely treading water and wondering, what can we do to make it better and more fulfilling? And that's when we decided to double down. We took webinars, we took video courses, we read books, we got counseling, we got therapy, and we did all the things we could think of to make our marriage what we've always wanted it to be and what we know it could be. I started writing my first book, Kick-Ass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex, to journal and tell the story for both men and women of what they could do to level up in their number 1 human relationship. The reason we're talking about this concept tonight about arguing and fighting and conflict and stress is because when we have that kind of relationship with our partner, it is very difficult to have the strong desire to be intimate and close and connected. People think that intimacy is about sex, but intimacy is about truth. And when you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you can show yourself to them, when you stand in front of them bare and the response is, "You're safe with me," it gives you the feeling that you're in the right place and that you can go the distance and get what you need. So let's talk about uncovering the 3 keys of minimizing conflict, fighting, stress in your relationship. Key number 1, HUVA, HUVA. Everybody that is in a relationship, both you and your partner, wants to be heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. HUVA. If you want to sound like a vacuum cleaner salesman from Massachusetts, you can say HUVA. HUVA. Heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. I know I want that in my relationship. I know that my wife wants it in our relationship. And most every single couple and committed relationship I've talked to, they feel the same way. You will never experience reduced conflict and fighting unless your partner feels heard and understood. So what does it mean to be heard? Being heard means you know where your partner's head is at any time on what they are experiencing, and you are emotionally connected. You know their number 1 need right now and how you can best be supporting them in achieving that. So I'm curious right now, everybody that's watching this, do you know your partner's number one need, where they are finding themselves right now? And do you know how you can best be supporting them in achieving it? You got to be able to repeat back to them to their satisfaction what they are mad, sad, afraid, and excited about when you're communicating. You've got to show empathy. That means you get it. You're in the foxhole with them, next to them. Doesn't mean you have to always agree with them or accept everything they think and feel, but you're working towards understanding because they need to feel understood and that you get it and that you're there for them. Not there to solve it, make it go away, and swoop in and be the knight in shining armor, but you are there. You need to make sure you're listening. So, key number one, when your spouse knows and feels you hear them, they feel validated and prioritized about everyone and everything else. And prioritization is huge in every successful relationship, meaning I prioritize my partner, my wife, above work, above the kids, above my family of origin, above in laws, a favorite activity. It doesn't matter. When she knows that she's a priority, it makes all the difference in the world. When you can sit with them and you're not judging or qualifying where they are, they feel you are for them and behind them. When your partner knows that they're valued by you for their contribution to the relationship, they know they're important. And how do they know that? You tell them. Every day, you should be feeding your partner what you're grateful for, what you appreciate about them, about who they are. Could be physical characteristics, could be what they do for you, your family, or anybody else. Your expressions of gratitude provide a validation, appreciation, and more fuel for them to repeat their oxygen giving behaviors back to you. You see where I'm going with this? When you meet their needs and have a servant leader approach with your partner, you are planting the seeds that are going to grow and end up feeding you. It's about taking care of their needs, not their wants necessarily, but what do they need in every moment that you find them. So when you consistently demonstrate HUVA, you're going to have reduced stress in your relationship. Your partner is going to stop wondering if you're for them. Your spouse will feel more connected and strongly bonded to you. And you're going to spend more time building each other up instead of tearing each other down. That means you're making investments, you're connected, and you are doing all the things that make your bond stronger. If you don't get this right, here's what's going to happen. You're going to struggle to grow in your relationship and you might just give up. You're going to be caught in the toxic exchange of meeting fire with fire and escalating, making it worse. Your stress levels are going to continue to rise and spiral out of control. And neither you nor your spouse will feel you have a snowball's chance in hell of recovering from the constant bickering, arguing, and disagreements. Here's how to solve those problems. Schedule and plan intentional times to communicate and connect each and every day. I'm not talking about who's taking care of dinner, who's picking the kids up, who's taking them to school, did you walk the dog? That's needed communication, but that is not investing in your emotional connection with your partner. You also got to focus on the good you see in them and communicate it. When you have compliments and gratitude and appreciation that you don't share, it's like having all the money in the world and starving because you're not buying food. If you can repeat back to them what you hear them saying until they validate it and say, you've got it. And then more importantly, ask them. Ask them what they need from you so they feel heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. Once you know what they need for them to feel that way, you then earn the right to share with them what you need. It's a two-way street, and you can both work on providing what you each need to feel that way in your relationship. Here's where you're going to get stuck, though. You think you know what to say or not say, but you're not sure. You overthink it. What they're doing or not doing get you so mad, it's hard for you to focus on the good they might actually be doing. In other words, the circumstance, the symptom has got you sidelined, and you're letting it sidetrack you instead of holding on to the inherent good, the things you fell in love with, and the qualities you know are there, but may not being expressed at the time. Or maybe you've been jumped on so quickly and so strongly in the past, you're gun shy. Like you're afraid if you try something, you might lose your hand or get snapped at, or they may not appreciate it or be willing to accept what you have to share. Let me share a little success story with you. And this is a story that's going to tell you it's not about the lights. My middle son and I were going to work on a Saturday morning, trying to work on the honeydew list that my wife had for us. We wanted to play and have some fun together. And Ashley, yeah, you've been stuck a few times. I've been stuck a few times too. And, everybody's going to have issues because relationships are a little bit like roller coasters, right? Depends what season you might be in, season of a career, season of your kids, a lifetime season, maybe extended family. There's always things pulling at you, and you've got to have that understanding. But back to the story about not being about the lights. My wife asked me to hang up some outdoor LED lights. We were planning a birthday party for my daughter, and she wanted it to be a certain way. So I grabbed the lights. My son and I went outside, and I hung them the way I thought she wanted them done. And I went and got her and said, "Hey, I hung the lights." She said, "What do you mean you hung the lights?" I said, "Well, it was one of the things you want me to do, so I went out and did it." She said, "Well, did you ask me how I wanted it done?" So she came out, and of course, I had tried to read her mind, and I'd done it the way I thought, instead of making sure I found out what was the way she wanted it done. And an argument started. I got very defensive. I thought I was doing what's right. She said, "You never listened to me." And my teenage son started backing away because he could see that a hurricane was forming and coming in. We had a pretty negative argument. We broke each other down. We said some things that weren't very nice, and we separated, pretty upset and angry. And at that time, things would stew for quite a while before we could come back and address them. But we did address them. We did come back, and we had a conversation to determine what we each needed in the relationship and how we could have better done it. We did a little post-mortem, and I learned about my wife that she felt like I wasn't listening to her, and I didn't listen to her often. I was just doing what I wanted to do. I thought I was doing a great job by taking the lead and responsibility and getting something done. So the success story here is that we learned from that mistake, and we agreed to find understanding and to ask questions until we were sure we were doing what our partner needed, not what we wanted. And that's the most important thing. And there's also another term here I'm going to share with you. It's called the dream within the conflict. The conflict here had nothing to do with lights. It had everything to do without us authentically listening to each other and working to give each other what we needed and wanted in a particular moment. That's where arguments come from, because we're trying to win, stick up for our own viewpoints and our own opinions instead of finding understanding and figuring out how to act based on that understanding. So that's a lesson to apply that you can all learn from. When your best friend feels heard, understood, valued, and appreciated, their love tank's going to be so full that they can't help but pour some of that goodness all over you. We call that success spillover, meaning they're getting so much good from the relationship, so much good from your recognition and your words and taking the time and your prioritization of them that they've got to do something with all that goodness. It's going to bounce back at you. It's going to go to your kids if you have them, your extended family, and everybody else that you have interactions with. Key number 2, this is the second item that you've got to do to minimize conflict, stress, and fighting in your marriage. Before you got married, it was I and you. You had your own stuff, your own decisions, and you kind of lived by what you wanted to do and have, think, and say. But when you get married, all decisions have to be filtered through the us. It's no longer I and you, but it's what's good for us. Winning has to be exchanged for understanding, meaning I got my way, I got what I wanted, so I won and I feel good. Well, what about your partner? Did they get what they need? Did they get what they want? Did they get the outcome that was most important to them? That's where you got to find the understanding. So when you're making decisions now, you got a different filter. You're thinking, is this a win for the relationship? Because if it's a win for the relationship, it's a win for both of you. And it is impossible to reduce fighting and arguing if you're still focused on winning and being right. I'm going to say that again. If you're focused on winning, your opinion, taking the day, getting what you want at the expense of your partner, you are going in reverse and you're creating stress and conflict and dissatisfaction and friction points that, if aren't addressed, can burn brightly and turn into full-fledged dumpster fires. And then it's really tough to turn the ship at that point. So key number 2, when you listen to understand instead of respond, let me tell you what that means. You're having a conversation with your partner, your spouse, and you're looking at them eye to eye, not at a TV, not at your phone, not at the computer screen, not at anyone or anything else, but you're listening to understand. And you're not thinking, ooh, I got something really good I want to say. I can't wait till I can say it. Oh, can I get in now? Can I get in now? Can I get in now? But instead, you're trying to understand what they're saying, asking clarifying questions, saying things like, so tell me more. Why is that so important to you? What would the ideal outcome look like? How can we work together on this? Okay, all those kinds of questions in that process. So when you think about what's the dream within the conflict, what do they really want out of it? And if you can give it to them, you should. If it compromises your values or your principles, then you can set a boundary and let them know why they can't. But you can find agreement by saying, I understand why this is important to you. I'm going to work to support yourself in it. And then you can begin to formulate and verbalize your action plan to see if it's going to help them the way they want to be helped. And that's another huge point. We like to help our partners, our spouses, the way we want to help them, not necessarily the way they want to be helped. So you got to ask that question. If I were to do this for you, would that give you the kind of help you'd like to have in this situation? Or flat out say, hey, how can I best support you in getting what you need here? And then be quiet and listen. All important things for you to try to use to make that progress there. When you blaze into unwanted, unsolicited solutions, this is what happens. You show that you're not listening to them, but you have your own agenda because you want to do and say what you want to do and say. You prove you're not interested in giving them what they most want, but only what you want to give. And that's selfishness. That you have not heard them and don't want to do the work, actually hear what they feel and what they think. When they know you care what they feel and think, that is where that old hoova comes back into place. And that is when you're able to make the progress you want to make. It is essential to understand what each of your boundaries are and how you can best respect them. So if there's a conflict, a discussion, you're looking for that understanding, ask them what is acceptable and unacceptable in this situation. Or, hey, I'm cool with this, but I'm not cool with that. Or I feel like a boundary was crossed. You got to communicate what your fundamental needs are for yourself. That's called self-care. And the relationship, win-win, or the us. In other words, you can say, when we're having a disagreement, an argument, or something's not going the way we'd like it to, I need to make sure you don't yell and raise your voice. That's a turnoff to me. It makes me want to disconnect, and I can't hang in there and have a discussion when you're screaming at me. So that's a boundary I'm asking to set here. Can you respect that? Can you honor that for me? And you get agreement on what decisions are I, you, and us. Meaning conflict and disagreement occurs when we make a decision that didn't belong to us. My wife and I definitely have roles and responsibilities in our relationship. We do that to divide and conquer a little bit, there's some things we do together and decisions, for example, on finances and spending. We have a rule that if we're going to spend more than a certain dollar amount of money, we need to talk to each other for feedback and improvement. If it's anything less than that, we trust each other and we know that it can go ahead, but neither of us is going to go make a financial purchase for a dollar amount above that limit without bringing the other person in and talking about it. And if we violate that, we've just broken a boundary. And it's like taking a baseball bat to the marriage because we are breaking a promise or a commitment. And breaking promises and commitments is not walking the talk. And that's when your partner begins to think you're disingenuous. So you got to get agreement on what decisions can I make, can you make, and which ones do we have to do together so that we're not consistently set up for disappointment. Here's what gets in the way, though, right? These are the things that slow us down. You're relying on quid pro quo relations instead of making sure each of your individual needs are being met. That means quid pro quo is tit for tat. Hey, I did this for you, so now you got to do this for me. It doesn't always work that way. And if that's your motivation, that means you're not being unconditional in your love and your support for your partner. And you're more focused upon, hey, I've done this for you. Now it's your turn to do for me. Now, having said that, let's say you've done something 3, 4, 5, 6 times for your partner and it's not happening the other way. You can have a calm and loving conversation and say, hey, I'm a little concerned and I think we need to talk about something. It also gets in the way when you haven't set boundaries for acceptable and unacceptable individual and relationship behaviors. In other words, what is it cool to do? And what is a total non-starter of something you can never do? A couple that I worked with had a rule. They said, under no circumstances can we ever lay our hands on each other about anything, for anything. 0 physical control or manipulation. And that's their rule because they don't want physicality to ever come into their relationship and be used against each other. What about when you and your partner choose to strike out at each other for hurts you're feeling instead of sharing what's going on with you and why, right? You ever done something and you get a much greater response back and it's super negative, or you say something small and you just feel like they're coming down your throat? It's probably because they've got another hurt that hasn't been confronted or dealt with, or they're suppressing. So, what's the dream within the relationship, within the conflict? That's important to find out so you can share and get that emotional connected. This happens a lot in relationships where the emotional connection is not strong and seems to really be struggling. Here's a success story. So a gentleman by the name of John Page, he is one of the elite coaches for KCN that I work with in helping couples in their marriages. And John has a wife and 2 young girls, and he moved from California to Florida. And man, when he lived in California, he had a convertible, except the convertible that he had, he couldn't put the kids' seats in the back seat. And his wife said, babe, I think we need to get a car that, yes, you love, but that also will handle all children, because it shouldn't be that only one vehicle can handle them or you can't drive the kids. So he loves convertibles. He found a Mustang convertible, and guess what? Those baby seats, those child seats fit in the back seat. Win-win. So his wife said, hey, this is an us decision. It's important to me that it handle this. John said it's important for me to have a convertible. And they were able to get a win-win, and it was a win for the relationship. John won, his wife won, the kids won, and everybody was happy because they're willing to find out what met both people's needs in the relationship. Now, if John had wanted a car that worked for him but didn't work for his wife, that's a win-lose. And you can't have a deal unless it's win-win. If you make a lot of decisions in your marriage and your relationship that are win-lose, eventually the loser is going to get bent out of shape, and it's going to put more pressure, stress, and strain in the relationship. That's where that scary Hydra monster of argument and fighting comes from, is when too many win-lose decisions are forced instead of seeking the win-win and winning for the relationship. When the us wins in the marriage, both partners win every time. So if you have that ideal, that commitment that we both need to win and get what we want here. Now, it doesn't mean that every single decision both people have to like. Let me give you an example. Tonight, I feel like Italian. My wife wants seafood. Okay. And we, for some reason, can't get it together. So it doesn't mean that I have to always give her what she wants. But I say, hey, I'd be happy to go to seafood tonight. Would you mind if the next time we went out, we went to Italian? Or how about you pick this time and I'll pick the next? Or if you're being a servant leader, you can say, babe, it doesn't really matter that much to me. If that's what you like, I'd love to go there, right? Instead of saying, no, I want what I want. And if it's not what I want, it's a lose, right? There's an opportunity to be malleable and to work through that in small decisions and make sure you're there for the big ones. Key number 3, you've got to learn to reframe conflict as an invitation to connection. That means you can't be the judge and saying you did this right, you did this wrong. You got to be more like Sherlock. It means you got to be the sleuth. You got to be the detective and figure out what's going on. Conflict is a gentle or sometimes ungentle way of just saying we need to talk. All relationships have conflict. You just have to learn how to use it as fuel for growth and connection instead of destruction. Conflict is a way of your spouse saying to you, we need to talk. That's all it is. And if your spouse wants to talk to you, shouldn't you be willing to talk to them about anything at the right time? You should. The more you shift from judge to Sherlock, the happier you'll be, because you're not looking to make a judgment on them, but you're looking to find proof, evidence, and understanding in your interactions with your partner. You absolutely have no choice but to reframe conflict as an invitation to connection if you want to always win in your relationship. Because if you think it's an invitation, we all love invitations. Might be a fierce conversation, might be a little uncomfortable. People say, I hate conflict. So fine, reframe it as an invitation to connection. And don't you want to connect with the person you love more than anybody else? To the one you said I do to, the one you want to do life with? You should. Because if you have those connections, that's where the attachment comes from. And healthy attachment strengthens your bond, increases intimacy, and makes you want to be with that person more in all kinds of fun ways. Now, your partner wants you to understand why they feel the way they do. That's important. Doesn't mean you're accepting it, but they want you to understand why something is important to them. So it doesn't have to be agreement. It just needs to be understanding. I have never heard in all the years I've spoken to people, coached them and trained them, where they've said, I am tired of being so well known and loved by my spouse. I don't think anybody feels too often that they are loved too much. And when you learn to de-escalate conflict by responding out of love and concern for your spouse, you eliminate anger, resentment, and fear. That's that triple-headed monster, anger, resentment, and fear, that can just wreak havoc in your relationship. So you de-escalate by leaning in, by finding understanding, and saying, I'm with you, I support you, and how can we work through this together? And that's just magic. Now, when you lovingly lean into conflict, and the reason I say lean in is because all relationships are in one of 3 stages. You're leaning in, right? You want to get close. You're leaning away, meaning you're disengaging, or you're leaning against, which means you're coming up and setting up to fight and coming against your partner. Only one of those is healthy, and that's leaning in, and that's what we're talking about. You got to also learn to actively prioritize them above everyone and everything else. And I mean that. Your partner, your spouse is the most important person in your life. Person, I said. My wife and I both have a very strong faith, and our commitment to God is number 1, but number 2 is each other. And that's the way it should be in our house. And that's what we have. And our kids are number 3. Number 4 is our extended family, and then everybody else and community. So it's also important when you lean into that conflict that you're separating behavior and feelings from values and principles. Behavior is what somebody does, and feeling is how they feel. Both those things change all the time, but values and principles usually don't change once they're established. So you got to make sure you can hate the behavior and be unhappy with the feeling, but if the value and principle is enduring, then that's what you're really committed to. So when you choose to go toe to toe instead, here's what happens. In other words, we're going to fight. We're going to throw down because I need to be right. You take a wrecking ball to trust, love, and friendship. Your spouse questions your commitment to them and the relationship, and you show that you place more emphasis on your position than in holding on to them. In other words, I'd rather be right than be with you. And that's a dangerous precedent. That's what going toe to toe sounds like, meaning fighting, stepping up to the plate, and man, we're going to get it on. Nothing good comes out of that. But if you do this right and you accept the invitation, your actions will loudly show your prioritization and commitment to them. They'll be focused on what a good friend and lover you are to them. And they will start to look for ways they can affirm and support you. Little quote by Robert Louis Stevenson says, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you sow," what you plant. Because you're constantly doing work for the future, making deposits, care and feeding. I mean, a relationship is just like a gardening relationship, right? You need sunshine, you need water, you need good food, you need protection, you need care. Sometimes you got to be pruned back so you can spring and go more. And if you do that right, you're going to have all those things in the relationship like you'd like to have them. If you feel like you're leaning in and it's not working, okay, maybe you're inconsistent with your responses to your spouse. Sometimes you do it right and sometimes you don't. Or your partner continues to assume and expect the worst from you because they've been bitten so many times they can't actually believe you've changed maybe or gotten any better. Your words are saying one thing, but your actions are saying another. Actions definitely speak louder than words. And when they're incongruent, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Let me tell you about a little success story about some realistic boundaries that I was able to set with my wife. My wife is definitely a much more organized and neater person than I am. I kind of go in that wave of being really organized to being a little disorganized, and it just bothers me so much. I clean the decks and I get organized again. So my wife loves to have an orderly home. She likes to walk into it. It makes her feel good. If somebody is to come over, it's just, and I don't disagree. I love the same thing. She's just a little bit better at it than I am. And so one day she came into my office because my office is in our home. And she said, "I don't know how you can work like this. And let's get in here and let's make changes. And let's put this here." I said, ho, time out. Wait a minute. I have no problem with you setting the tone or the lead of what you'd like the house to be like. But in my office, I need to be able to work and create and organize the way I want. If I need your help, I'm happy to ask for it. But if I don't, I need you to let me have my office be the way I want it to be. That's a boundary. And I needed that. And so I communicated it, not in a mean or disrespectful way, just like I'm talking to you right now. And she responded and said, "Okay." And time to time, I've asked for her help. She's come in and helped me, but she typically leaves it alone and lets me do what I need to do. And that's a great compromise because she understood my needs and she respected my boundary. 2 key elements that we've talked about tonight: understanding the needs of your partner and then respecting the boundary that they set. When you accept and daily demonstrate this personal concept, you're going to eat conflict for breakfast and build skyscrapers with all the newfound understanding in your relationship. I'm not kidding. And if the two of you work together on this, you can model it for your partner if they don't get it. And eventually they're going to want to come along and want to know what you're doing. But what a gift to your relationship to reduce or almost eliminate the fighting, the conflict, the stress that comes about when we approach it the wrong way. We fail to find understanding, and we're not making sure that our partner is heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. Key number 4 is the benefits of working with a coach, right? We all have blind spots. And if you work with a coach or a mentor or a therapist, you're going to take strategy and accountability and be able to use it. You're going to introduce and teach new and high payoff ideas. In other words, there's going to be things that a coach can bring to your attention that you may just have no idea about or not understand or not know what they are. We all have blind spots. And it's so hard when we're in the middle of something to be able to see what it is that we have to do to make the changes we need to make. And that's why having somebody external to help you with that's important. There are absolutely no masters of relationships who got there on their own. Every couple that we've interviewed on the Kick-Ass Couples podcast to a T has said they get outside help. They have coaches, they get therapy, they have mentors, they have people that work with them to help them see opportunity for growth, improvement, and having a stronger relationship. They didn't get there on their own. And anybody who says they did is not telling the truth. So you need somebody in your corner that can talk through your fears. What are your struggles, your disappointments? Someone that's going to help you truly recognize and celebrate your wins. Someone that helps you with accountability so you're getting done what needs to happen. Someone who can be that lighthouse that illumines your path to success and helps you avoid those disastrous rocks. This is a picture of Chris Cambus. He is the co-author of my book, a mentor and a coach for my wife and I. He is a great mentor and coach. A good coach this is what they're going to do for you. They're going to help you navigate your path, find guidance and strategies, and keep you clearly accountable. You've got to do the work. A great coach is going to bring together a group of thought leaders, influencers, who are going to collectively multiply everybody else's success, meaning they're doing a pooling of resources, people they've worked with, people they've experienced, other experts, resources, and tools. It's not just them as an individual, but it's everybody they've known and worked with that's bringing their professionalism to bear in your life, in your relationship. If you try to go it alone, you're going to spend needless time guessing about how to get the results you want. You'll lose money in both your personal and professional life due to spending money on things you just don't get results with. You're going to feel more uncertainty and doubt. That's going to hold you back. You may even give up on your relationship and your dreams of something better altogether. You're going to lose the belief that having a great relationship without never-ending conflict and stress is even possible. You're going to feel it's just not obtainable. No successful married couples got there on their own. They all leveraged somebody to help them get to where they are now. So today, this is what I promised you. I'd show you my keys to minimize fighting and arguing and gain true understanding of your partner. I'd share why you and your partner are on different pages and how you can become unified and pulling together in the same direction. And I'd share how I cranked up the volume on passion, connection, and the most satisfying sex life that's waiting for you to tap into right now. So this is what you need to succeed. Let's do a little review. Number 1, you got to achieve HUVA, H-U-V-A. You need to make sure that you and your partner are both heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. Remember that I plus you equals us. You got to be looking at all decisions through the filters of us, so it's a win for the relationship. You've got to lean into conflict and recognize it as an invitation to connection and not a preamble to war. And lastly, you got to invest in a coach. Get someone to help you get that relationship to where it needs to be so that it is informing success in all areas of your life. If you implement these steps, you're going to minimize conflict and fighting in your relationship. You're going to reduce stress and increase satisfaction. You're going to be more financially successful and fulfilled. You're going to look forward to every interaction with your partner and best friend. And you're going to experience the fulfillment of leaving a lasting legacy to your family and everyone that witnesses your elevated relationship. Now you have to choose. You've come to a fork in the road, and only you can make the decision of where you want to go from here. How I can support you. If you want to learn how I can support you, book your free 45-minute relationship assessment call by going to the QR code you see on the screen. We're also going to throw that link in the comments right now. We'll do a relationship audit together, and you can find out what obstacles are preventing you from experiencing your own relationship nirvana and what you can do to eliminate them so that you can go faster on the highway of life with the person you care most about. I'll talk to you, figure out what those obstacles are, and we can have some time to share what you can do. This is only for serious spouses who want to see significant change in their relationship. Those who know they must accept full responsibility for the results in their relationship, and men and women who desire to create an abundantly good and strong relationship that is built to last. And for anybody that resonates with the message, some of the concepts and the things I've talked to you all about tonight. This is not for partners who are looking for someone else to do the work and those who make excuses. It's not for whiners, complainers, and blamers. Those who are more interested in phantom silver bullets and empty get fixed quick promises. The reason I'm doing this is because I want you to experience your own relationship nirvana, because you have the ability and desire to do so. I want you to experience the relationship overflow that occurs when your relationship is so good, it overflows into all the other areas of your life. I want to help you make the best impact. I want you to stop feeling like you're killing yourself by stressing out about your struggling relationship. And I want you to stop doing all the things and focus only on what works. So if you allow me to support you, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to build a firm foundation that builds consistent, progressive results. You're going to get massive personal and relationship growth. You'll start achieving tangible results in the first few weeks. You'll have a certain clear roadmap and can be held accountable for doing the work that creates these results. You're going to receive full support and consistent feedback, so you're not trying to figure it out alone. Here's your invitation. If you want to learn how I can support you, book your free 45-minute relationship assessment call by going to the QR code that you see or grabbing that link in the comments and checking it out. A great relationship doesn't happen because of the love you had in the beginning, but how well you continue building love until the end. I am so glad that you took the time to join us tonight, or that you're watching this video online, because if you follow these principles and apply them consistently in your relationship, they are proven to help you get the relationship that you want and minimize the conflict, fighting, stress in your marriage that you're experiencing right now. It's worth it. It works. And I can't wait to talk to you about what we can do together to take your relationship to the next level. Thanks for joining us tonight. Again, if you have any questions and want to follow up, shoot us an email at info@kickasscouplesnation.com. It's in the chat notes. This video will be available for you. We'll send the workbook to you, the answer key if you need it, and keep supporting you to get the relationship of your dreams. We'll talk to you soon.